As you wander through Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, there's design elements that help pull the space together and make it feel real. One of my favorite details are these banners, all over Batuu. They make the space have depth and subtle motion in the breeze. It feels like each one has a backstory. They help the space read almost instantly as there's a history here. So of course I wanted my own, and I bet you do too. Before you can make a flag, you'll need some supplies. Cheap canvas drop cloth. Some way to measure in a straight edge. They can be the same thing even. Something to paint with. A pencil to mark your canvas. Some cutting tools. Some masking tape to mask. And paint. I prefer Craftsmart from Michaels, but Walmart was closer, so I got Apple Barrel. You'll have to deal with it. You're also going to need a design. I was inspired by the glyphs in the cornice of Doc Ondar's. Thanks to Jamie over at the Outer Rim YouTube channel, I realized this is Ithorian lettering. Makes sense. Doc is an Ithorian. I grabbed some striking characters and laid them out. This flag is going to be 1 foot by 2 foot, which means the first step will be measuring, marking, and cutting the canvas drop cloth. Yeah, adding Star Wars-y music to real-time footage of me cutting fabric isn't that exciting, is it? Let's speed things up a bit. Because my design had multiple layers, the first step was finding where the centers of each circle would be. I drew my design in Inkscape and tried to keep all my measurements to round inches, which made layout easier. I work in the theater, so I traced a gel frame from an old stage light, but you could just as easily trace a bowl or a roll of tape. If you wanted, after tracing the circle, you could even erase the top half and sketch in a Rebel Firebird insignia or other Star Wars-y logo. There's that subpar Apple Barrel matte acrylic paint. This bright green felt striking when I was in the craft aisle, so I just grabbed it and didn't look back. And frankly, cheap paint worked just fine here. Tools are so important. That first brush was bothering me, so I switched to a stiffer one. Because this is the bottom layer, I still wasn't too careful with the circles. The glyphs would hide most of the imperfections. Whoops, imperfections like that one. I did forget an important piece of kit before. A fan. I'm impatient, and this layer needed to dry completely before I started laying out the second one. Luckily, those paintbrushes gave me something to occupy my time while I waited. Ecto Cooler. Seriously though, don't drink paint water. Ever. Once everything was dry, I could start working on measuring the next layer. This time I was going to use a ton of masking tape. The measuring was tedious, running back and forth between my computer and the canvas. It was at this point that I was really happy that I basically designed everything in even 1-inch increments. I wised up after the first few glyphs and decided to lay out my borders first, then measure 1-inch increments along them to make a grid. This sped up my taping job drastically. With all the tape laid down, it was time for the real work. More paint. I used Apple Barrel Pavement. It's a really nice, almost black-gray color. That slightly washed-out tone helped get a jump on the weathering. Notice I used the paint right from the tube. No thinning. That's important. The canvas is super porous. If you thin your paint here, it'll wick under the masking tape and all that careful work was meaningless. Keep the paint thick or you'll have a mess. I'm painting really awkwardly here. That's on purpose. I gripped the bristles using the brush in a pouncing motion. When I did drag along the surface of the canvas, I was careful to start on the masking tape and work inward. That way the bristles didn't accidentally slip underneath the tape. I wasn't as militant about letting everything dry at this stage. You want your paint to still be tacky, so as you pull off the tape, it doesn't accidentally bring your design with it. Look how satisfying that is. I'm sorry, this is just magic. Pure magic. And now for even more magic. The Star Wars galaxy is a used universe, dirty, grimy, and beat up. This banner's too clean. Don't be too precious here. The total supplies I'd used by this point cost maybe $3. If I messed it up, it wouldn't have been hard to start over again. Since this is where the real Star Warsing happens, I'm gonna indulge myself in a bit of epic background music. Sorry, I just can't resist. You can use weathering to hide some crimes, too. I wasn't too happy with one spot on my masking, so it became one of the tears in the fabric instead. Goodbye flaw, hello, other flaw. Just slice in there, then rip, stretch, and widen out those tears. Scissors make things too nice and neat. It was time to fray those edges with a box cutter. I just tore into them, trying to rip the fibers and create new and interesting textures. Make it look like these edges have been flapping against stucco walls for decades. This thing was just too clean. Now I had to add some grime. I used the rinse bucket from my asphalt lettering, mixing that dirty water with a few different colors. Some brown, some more asphalt. No, that's not an earthquake. I was just really getting into the weathering. Testing out some of the colors on a scratch surface really helped me to hone in my tones for this kind of dry brush thing I've got going on. In Galaxy's Edge, the holes in the banners look like blaster scorch marks. For mine, I aimed for a weathered rip or tear. Instead of burned edges, I was going for grime and rust from rainwater cascading down the flag. Oh, it just got real. Look at that bright orange. I realized I needed a bit of contrast and layering to the weathering. And the orange has just enough rust pop to make things really stand out. And there it is. A completed Galaxy's Edge style banner, ready to hang on the doorway of your cantina, the wall of your speeder garage, or the rafter of your secret resistance base. These flags are so quick and easy. I completed this project in about 3 hours, including dry time. Using different types of masking, freehand painting, and design work, there's a whole galaxy of possibilities as you head out there and build the magic. Good luck, and may the Force be with you.